Everyone's talking about the Epstein files, but what's actually in them? Even with the massive amounts of redactions, the files are disturbing. Let's break it down. First things first, there is no single Epstein file. There have been multiple batches released from different sources between 2019 and 2026. But from those batches, we have flight logs, victim depositions, FBI files, a draft indictment, and other court records. But here's the unfortunate reality. The US government used a lot of black Sharpie. Their redactions are heavy, like suspiciously heavy, whole paragraphs and pages blacked out, and people have been asking legitimate questions about the purpose of these redactions because many of them don't seem necessary to protect victims or law enforcement operations. And there have been redaction mistakes, like documents where names were accidentally not blacked out properly, which has given us a glimpse into who is being protected. And here's a hint, it's powerful people. But the most brazen part, documents that were disclosed to the public and then deleted, pulled from public access. That's not normal, especially when documents specifically naming Donald Trump are still being pulled. This is exactly the kind of thing that makes people suspect a massive, massive cover-up. So, what did the Epstein files reveal about Epstein's operation? Because it wasn't just one guy acting alone. He had a network. In 2007, federal prosecutors drafted a 56-page, 32-count indictment against Jeffrey Epstein, which accused him of running a sex trafficking operation going back to 2001. And that operation specifically targeted minor girls aged 14 to 17 years old. And get this, at least 11 of the victims in that federal indictment attended the same school. So we're talking years of systematic abuse. But we know Epstein didn't act alone. He had employees who helped coordinate everything: recruitment, scheduling, payments, travel arrangements for the victims. There's evidence that Epstein's staff, including his longtime assistant, Sarah Kellen, arranged Epstein's travel schedule around victim availability. His staff would track school schedules and then coordinate visits accordingly. This wasn't random or opportunistic. It was concentrated, repeatable, and organized. This was a business operation with logistics and infrastructure. So, how did Epstein actually get these girls? Ghislaine Maxwell and others specifically targeted minor girls aged 14 to 17 years old who were vulnerable. Think financial hardship, family problems, troubled backgrounds, basically girls who were isolated or didn't have strong support systems. Maxwell would approach these girls in public places like beaches, schools, shopping malls, Mar-a-Lago. She'd strike up conversation, seem friendly and relatable to gain their trust. And then she would normalize sexual discussion or make them feel indebted to Epstein, and then she'd make an offer. A few $100s for a simple massage at Epstein's house. Seems simple, seems safe, especially because it came from a woman. Once the girls agreed to these initial encounters, then the request would escalate and the girls would be asked to perform sexual acts. Other people, like French modeling scout Jean-Luc Brunel, were accused by multiple women of recruiting girls for Epstein under the guise of modeling. Brunel actually faced criminal investigation in France, but died by suicide in custody in 2022 before trial. In any event, Epstein would pay his victims hundreds of dollars if they brought him new girls for similar massages. And for teenage girls who were in vulnerable financial situations or who wanted to make it, that was a powerful manipulation tactic. So now you have victims who are being incentivized or pressured to recruit their friends. It literally became a pyramid scheme of abuse. It was self-sustaining. And the operation wasn't limited to just one place. Victims were flown by Larry Visosky, who was Epstein's pilot, among other people, to different properties. Epstein's Manhattan mansion, his Palm Beach estate, and of course, his private island, Little St. James in the U.S. Virgin Islands. These locations were allegedly managed by Epstein employee Leslie Groff, among others. We also have flight logs, which are crucial here because they show how Epstein used his private jets to move victims between major hubs. The difference being that there was no commercial scrutiny. Unlike with commercial airlines, there were no passenger manifests that had to be filed with airlines, no security screenings, just private flights with whoever Epstein wanted on board. And there's evidence that Epstein and his network used coded language. There are documents suggesting that pizza was used as code for minors. Now, I'm not going to speculate beyond what's documented, but the pattern of coded language is consistent with an organized sex trafficking operation. This wasn't just one predator. This was an organized, decades-long trafficking network with staff, logistics, recruitment, and a built-in system to keep victims coming. The 2007 indictment laid part of this out. Federal prosecutors knew this, yet that indictment was never filed. Instead, Epstein got a sweetheart deal and another decade to continue trafficking minors. In part 3, I'll discuss who specifically is named in the Epstein documents and why. I read the fine print, so you don't have to. Remember to like, follow, and drop a note if you want me to cover a specific topic.